Hey guys, it's Brittany here with Post Point Closings again, going over some more fun stuff in Dotloop. I am going to be teaching you guys today how to make your own templates in Dotloop. These are super helpful when doing things like listings or even offer to purchases. You could have your documents already in your file, and they could actually be pre-filled based on things that you may select every single time. And that way you're not starting from the beginning on every single offer or listing. So there are two different types of templates when we go into this. So we're going to go into our test loop. All right, and so when we come into our loop, we've already created it. Let's say we can do add a folder. So we want to use the template function. So you can use templates. These are templates that our brokerage has already created for any of our agents to use. These templates are fine, but they are not pre-filled. So they're going to have all the documents that you may need to, let's say, submit an offer for a buyer, or all the listing documents that you may need, but they are not going to be pre-filled with the information that you want. If we scroll up here, this agent here has her own templates that she's created, and this way they can be pre-filled. So how do we do that? If we go up here to the template function, you can add new folders. All right, so here it is. This folder that I've just created inside of this agent's loop is not going to be seen by the rest of the agents in your office. The brokerage ones that I showed you down here, these have been shared with all the agents in the brokerage so that they can all use them. But these up here are what would be your personal templates, which is why we named them specifically whatever the agent's name is. So let's say you wanted to create a buyer template. So we're going to make this test template 1 buyer. Now we need to go up here to add documents, and it's asking, how do you want to add these documents? I use the template function. Now, the way your brokerage set your Dotloop up may be different, but this should all be the same steps. So for me, there's 2 ways that you could find the buyer documents that you need. One way is to go to the 2021, 2022 NCAR forms, which is the interactive real estate forms that we need for North Carolina. And you could search every form that you would need for your buyers. So let's say an offer to purchase, because if you have a buyer, that's what you're using. Working with real estate agents, exclusive buyer agency, you would simply search whatever forms you needed. Now, because the brokerage that I'm in has already created a folder for these agents that have all those buyer documents, again, up here, we go to RGE buyer documents. All I have to do is press select all and then copy them into this folder. So now my test template has all of those documents that I need. Now we want to go ahead and pre-fill them. I do want to start with also, there's some of these things, so like this lead in your home, that's only going to be needed if, for our state, if there actually is a lead-based paint addendum that's required. So some of these documents we just keep in here for if they're applicable. But if you go down the list, we have the offer to purchase, so working with real estate agents, which we have 2, we should not. I'll have to check that out. Professional services, exclusive buyer agency, and question answers on the home inspection. So what I would now do is go into this first document. We can click it open. And what you're doing now is going to save. And so every time we reopen this template, the things that we put in these boxes should come through the next time as well. And I'll show you what I mean. So obviously the seller and buyer are going to change every single contract, so we're not going to add that information in. That information does not stay the same. This purchase price, everything else, that's not going to stay the same either. A lot of this is going to be different. If you always use the same escrow agent or attorney or whatever you use in your state, go ahead and type it in there. You know, attorneys, whatever the attorney's name is. Now, I don't, just because, again, we do typically use the same attorneys, but that is something that can change per contract to contract, so I just leave that blank. So again, a lot of this stuff changes, but there are some things that are the same almost every single time. So we're not going to change the loan stuff. But here, the disclosure statements. Buyer has received a signed copy of the NC residential property and the mineral oil and gas. For us, that's required every single time. So I'm going to check those boxes because, again, they're the same every single time. The answer to that should be yes, they've received a copy. Unless they're exempt from the NC mineral oil and gas, which you can simply change that. But for the most part, this is always the same. All right, so all of this is the same. Like I said, you're probably like, well, this isn't helpful, but it will be, I promise. So let's go down to here. If you're the one that is always, if you're the person putting in the offer, then you will always be the selling firm name, correct? So why not fill this out instead of having this to be done the next time? Yes, I know that some of these documents pre-fill, and that's great, but sometimes they don't for whatever reason. So I would go ahead and take the time to enter your firm name, your license number, your address. So that way, again, every single time this should be in. And I'm just filling this out so you guys will see how it comes through next time. Okay. And then you save your offer, okay? Now we would do the same thing for every other one. So working with real estate agents disclosure, these are almost, again, for our state, these are always required to be checked. Agent's name, your name should always be the same. So why not go ahead and put that in? License number here, save. All right. Now the exclusive buyer agency, this is one of those forms that definitely is super helpful to have pre-filled out. Okay, so what type of property, general location, obviously some of these things are going to change every single time. But so like our terms for agreements are usually always the same. If your terms are always the same, why not go ahead and check the box? We do not have a retainer fee for our firm, so that's always going to be the same. And you can say 3% to be paid by seller, whatever your agreement is with your firm or with your client, that's what you would put in here. Same thing here, whatever days after the expiration, you need to read this. This is the amount of days that they have to acquire property. So again, that can be whatever amount that you and your client choose. But these are things that are always the same for this agent, and that's why I'm going to go ahead and put this in. We always have to provide a copy of the offer to purchase, question and answers on the home inspection, and a professional services disclosure form. So again, I'm going to have this already checked. This does not apply to us, so we put 0 in here. We always want to have, okay, so that's, oh, whoops. That is not what I wanted. So here too, you can also change these roles to whoever you need them to be. So I'm going to assign these to our buyers. We typically, and then the same, we don't ever usually have that as no one. So dual agency compensation, if you have a different type of agreement, you could put that in here. And again, this is the buyer's information. I wouldn't worry about putting that in. Obviously that changes. Same thing here, real estate firm, all of this should come in. But again, if you go ahead and type it in now, you won't have to worry about whether or not it's going to autofill. And I'm just typing this in so you guys will kind of get a feel for how this is going to look. So this is another form that's super helpful to have pre-filled out. This is our professional services disclosure form, and it basically is you're going to be telling the client the services that can be provided, and if they choose to have these services, you could put the names of the service providers in there. Some of our agents do fill these out, so obviously if that's you, you can't necessarily fill this out ahead of time. But we do also have some of our clients, they just put like to be determined, TBD, to be determined, and they don't fill them out, or they may change. So what I would do is I fill this out and I copy this all the way down. So the next time that I go to fill this out for an agent, this to be determined is already in every single box if it wants to copy, which it's not right now. And then I just do that all the way down so that, again, when I go to open this form the next time, I'm not having to do that. And I also would have these assigned to our buyers, because as you can see, they're not. It says it's assigned to no one. So I make sure that this role says buyer. So when we go to autofill, it should already assign it to them. And then down here, real estate firm, I would fill all that in. Again, this is just saving time. So when you put in an offer, a lot of this is already pre-filled out for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how this looks in our loop. So we're going to go to new folder, add a document, templates, test template 1, because that's the one we just created. And let's again say we're putting in an offer for someone. You're going to go to select all and copy. Now watch this. All right, so you're going to autofill this, which we didn't put any buyers in, so that doesn't really matter. But look at there. All of the buttons that we have put, all of the information that we had pre-filled in these templates are going to now come through every single time that you put in an offer. Even if it's just checking a couple boxes or, you know, putting in a little bit of information, regardless, this is going to save you time. And obviously in this business, we want that more than anything. As much as you can fill out ahead of time, the better. You can also do this, which is insanely helpful for listings. That's where I use most of my templates when I'm creating listings for my agents. Again, I'm a transaction coordinator and a listing coordinator as well. So it is super helpful for me when I have those templates. For example, I had already created, which you would do that in the exact same way, the test template. I have created listing documents for each of my agents that I do listings for. We don't need to go through them because, again, it's the exact same process as doing this test template, but I will show you, if you go back, what it kind of looks like. So we have her listing documents. So every time I go in here to do a listing for her, the only thing that I'm having to put in is the new information. So it's going to autofill the seller that I put in, the addresses that I put in, which we've gone over in previous videos on how to do all that. So it'll autofill all that information, and then the other information is already checked based on what I've already filled out. It tells me the effective date. Her commission is already in here because I know she has the same commission every single time. I know what type of loans that they will choose. Again, the commission here, the amount of days after it will expire. The buyer agent commission is always the same. So all of this stuff for me is already filled out and checked according to this specific agent, and it helps me and saves an immense amount of time for me when I'm creating listings for agents, that these are already pre-filled templates. So that is it for today. That is templates in Dotloop. If you have any questions or comments or want to see something further, please feel free to drop a comment or question below. Hit that subscribe button so that you know when we put out new videos. Happy closing, happy listing, everyone.